Hello, and welcome to the Divorced Dadvocate, divorce support for dads, where we help dads create a healthy and less traumatic divorce. My name is Jude Sandoval, and I'm your host. I created this podcast and the Divorced Advocate community as a result of my own high conflict divorce, and because you as a dad deserve all the resources necessary to thrive through this challenging time. I encourage you to check out our website at thedivorcedadvocate.com, where there are resources that correspond to this episode, as well as free access to our membership community, where you will find live meetings, free workshops and courses, private discussion groups, and more. And now, on to this week's episode. Hello, and welcome to the show, and welcome back to the Dad's Guide to Divorce series. If you missed the first installment, Dad's Guide to Divorce, Step 1, Clarify Your Vision, make sure to check it out in the podcast from last week. And in that podcast, I discussed how crucial it is to clarify your vision and direction when entering a divorce or navigating life post-divorce. And what we're going to talk about today is Step 2, which is strategizing your actions. And this step is going to provide you with a clear roadmap to achieve the vision you've set for yourself and your children during and post-divorce. But before we jump into that, let me welcome some new members of the Divorced Advocate community. Those are Wesley, Randall, and Conrad. Welcome to the community. If you're not part yet, check out thedivorcedadvocate.com. There are resources for anybody that is contemplating going through or post-divorce, wherever you are at. So check it out. The divorce quiz is still there and still up. There's a couple of new blog posts from last week. So get engaged, check it out. We've got if you become a member, we've got the group meeting coming up in this coming Saturday. So get involved in that. Those are great opportunities to share with other dads who either are going through the same thing that you're going through or have been through it and are down the road and have a little bit of a different perspective, if you will. Okay, so why strategize your actions? Setting a vision for your life after divorce is a vital step. The vital first step, right, that we talked about last week. It defines who you want to be and what you want to achieve. However, without a plan to turn that vision into reality, it just remains a dream. Strategizing your actions bridges the gap between where you are and where you want to be. This involves setting clear goals, breaking them down into actionable items, and focusing relentlessly on the behaviors necessary to achieve those steps. And as I mentioned last week, this Dad's Guide to Divorce series is going to be short and sweet. I'm keeping around 15, 20 minutes. And my idea is for you then to stop after listen to the 15, 20 minutes and then put into action the steps that I've given you, the action plan and the way in which you can go forth implementing these into your daily life. So that's the goal here. Let's start out and let me talk to you about the three-step strategy to effective goal setting. There's a lot of misunderstanding around goal setting. I'm not going to go into specific details. Actually, if you listen to some of my early podcasts, I do talk about that sometimes. So this is a conglomeration of years of studying goal setting, working on it myself, finding what works, what doesn't work, reading about it and talking to others about it as well. So I think that it is highly, highly effective. And that first step is obviously to set your goal. Or you can set an intention. I like to use the word intention sometimes as opposed to a goal. Goals sometimes have a connotation of you're going to get there and then that's the end. An intention, I think, is a little bit different than that you intend to do or be something or work towards something. So set your goal or what your intention is, and start by being very specific, making sure it's a measurable goal that aligns with your vision from step one. This could be related to parenting, personal development, career, or any any area crucial to your new life during and after divorce. Ensure that your goal is clear and actionable. Vague aspirations won't give you the direction that you need. So be very specific on what you want. And let me give you one example. One example could be your vision from step one was to be a heart-centered, available father who is always present. I'm going to use this one, and I'm actually going to walk through this personal example coming up here in a little bit. But one example is a vision could be you want to be a heart-centered, available father who is always present. This was one of mine. And the goal then could be, in order to achieve that, be mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually present during each moment of your parenting time. And so then the second step is work backward to identify the necessary steps. So you set your goal or your intention, and now you got to work backwards to identify the necessary steps to get there. So break down your goal into manageable steps. Think about what needs to happen for you to achieve your goal. This involves working backward from your goal to identify the actions and behaviors necessary at each stage. So the example was for me to be present for my children. So what I needed to do in working backwards from that intention was modify my work schedule to be available during their time with me, and also develop routines to manage my mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual health. And then the third step, after you set your goal, work backward to identify the necessary steps, is to relentlessly focus on implementing these behaviors. You're going to have to shift your focus from the goal to the behaviors required to achieve it. And by concentrating on the day-to-day actions, you can make continuous progress towards your goals without becoming overwhelmed. This step includes creating habits and routines that support your plan. This is going to make sense when I go through this example here coming up in a little more clarity. So the example, again, I'm using is to maintain presence during parenting time. And the behaviors that I had to implement were exercising daily to ensure physical well-being, meditating and engaging in a support group for meditate and also engage in a support group for mental and emotional health, and pray daily and attend church for spiritual grounding. So those are some of the behaviors that I had to implement in order to relentlessly focus on implementing those behaviors. So let's talk about how you apply this strategy. And I'll use this personal example. Those, and I'm going to go into detail now of those ones that I just gave you. So like many of the dads, the thought of the reduced time for me in spending time with my children was absolutely heart-wrenching and horrible. It still is. I still miss them on Fridays when they leave, and I miss them all through the week, and I think about them all the time. So I decided that the time I did have with them would be as impactful and present as possible. So number one, my intention was to be present for my daughters. I wanted to be fully present during my parenting time with my girls, both physically and emotionally. So my second step was, in order to get there, that was my vision, right? To be, and let me point out, both physically and emotionally, right? So what I ended up having to do is I ended up having to modify my work schedule and focus on my well-being. So what I did is I adjusted my work schedule to be available before and after school and during essential times, like showing up to all their events and all the stuff that they had going on. This required me to become more efficient in my work hours and also accept an income reduction. I also created a plan to maintain my mental and physical health, and this included daily meditation, regular exercise, and spiritual practices in order to stay centered. So the third part of that then were the behaviors, and I created daily routines for presence. I focused on specific behaviors like exercising every morning, meditating daily. These two specific ones ensured that I stayed healthy and present and allowed me to fully engage during my parenting time. So those are just some examples, and those are just like very very brief examples for me as I went through this, and I wanted to talk about briefly that last one, which is the importance of behavioral focus. There's a great TEDx talk by Reggie Rivers, the former Denver Bronco, and in it he says we set goals for ourselves, but our goals are things that are outside of our control. Behaviors are the things that you focus on in order to achieve your goals. By concentrating on behaviors, you can influence the factors within your control, making your goals more attainable. In my case, committing to daily exercise and meditation transformed how I interacted with my children. By focusing on these behaviors, I stayed present and engaged, fulfilling my vision of being a heart-centered, available father. And so the point I want to make with that is when you are measuring and thinking about how you're doing with this, you can't predict whether you're going to get to that goal or that intention. You can only measure what you're doing on even a minute by minute, day by day basis, and then measure if you are better today than you were yesterday, and then make it your goal to be better tomorrow than you were today. And so by focusing on those behaviors and making small incremental changes, if you will, like I mentioned, the exercise program, that could be just starting out with getting up 10 minutes earlier in the morning if you've never got up to do an exercise. And it might just start with that, just learning to get up in the morning so that you can get up 10 or 15 minutes early and then be able to go for a walk. And then once you're used to getting up 10 or 15 minutes earlier, you can implement the walk. Maybe you even need steps in between that. Maybe you need to learn how to eat something healthy before you go on a walk, or maybe it's something else that you need to do. So just focus on small incremental changes that over time are going to have a huge impact. And so I'll use the analogy of if an airplane is set on course and then it just changes its course by 1 degree after flying so many miles, that will have gone in a completely different direction. That's the same thing with you around these daily routines for presence and the importance of your behavioral focus. Hey guys, I know that a lot of you are going through some challenging times, and it's chaotic, it's difficult, and you don't know what's going to be happening in your life post-divorce. This is going to help you get a little bit of a handle and a little bit of an anchor on what you want to do. It is the only thing that you can do during the divorce, which is control what your behaviors are and how you are showing up. So if you can start with that first week of clarifying your vision and direction, work on now this week, which is strategizing your actions. It's a powerful tool to turn your vision into reality. Remember, it's not about achieving everything at once, but about taking consistent steps towards your goal or vision. Implement these strategies. You're going to find yourself making steady progress towards an amazing life for you and your children. So next week is going to be step number 3 to the Dad's Guide to Divorce. We're going to talk about upgrading your skills. And gentlemen, together we'll continue to build a fulfilling life post-divorce. So hang in there. Stay strong, my friends. If you found some value in this, please share it far and wide on social media. Give us a star rating, stop and give us a comment. That helps as well to entice other dads that are going through this challenging time as well to get the help that they deserve and need to. Thank you so much for listening. Have a blessed week. Talk to you soon. Bye. To hear the rest of this episode and access the corresponding resources, visit thedivorcedadvocate.com and become a member of our community. It's free to join and will provide you with the resources you deserve as a divorced or divorcing dad. Thank you for listening. God bless, and I'll talk with you next week.